From Bruno Gröning's teachings. This is the first part from a speech given by Bruno Gröning the 4th of October 1958. The German name of the speech is Was glauben, wohl, warum, wieso, weshalb. In English it will be What do you think? Why? Dear friends, you are probably wondering why we are gathered also today. First of all, on behalf of everyone, I would like to thank our host, because today he once again gave us the opportunity to get closer in every way. Why do you think we are here today? Do you think we are gathered here to talk, maybe have a cup of coffee, or have a family gathering? No, friends, it is not. The divine work has been destroyed by the evil power, and the evil power on earth today believes that they alone are the rulers, that they alone can decide. This power has also made laws for you where they try everything. On the one hand, they promise people all sorts of good, including freedom, but are far from keeping it, can't keep it, because what they want is something else entirely. We must, of course, also make use of this law, not as we understand it, but as it is. We do not count among those who walk like the cat around the hot porridge. We go straight ahead. But what is the use, dear friends, if we do not behave accordingly, as we really have to behave, if we do not do all that is free to us according to the law, if we do not take it to heart and transform it into action? How we really have to behave if we don't do everything that has been given to us here in the human law, if we don't heed it, if we don't put it into practice. It is our full right and duty to do so. It is necessary that friends who already belong to the circle of friends always only say what they are convinced of, not just give their opinion or perhaps say, yes, you can try everything possible. For God nothing is impossible, but man, as he strives for other goals, to him it looks completely different. He does not know anything about what God is to him. He gropes in the dark, tries everything, and never does the right thing, because he no longer knows what right God has given him. He, the citizen, does not even know the human law. He does not know it and does not care about it. If a danger threatens him, well, one must find a lawyer, a legal representative. I had almost said someone who twists the law, whom you pay well for advice and help. And that way he also has a living. And now the question arises whether you also have the right attorney to help you get your rights. To be precise, today only those on this earth who can prove what is right are right, never those who are right. Here is already a difference between the human and the divine. In the divine, he who is right, who does not prove it, but who really is right, gets right. This, dear friends, as I have merely touched here, man must know. That is why we've come together here. If you have questions here about one thing or the other, you can ask your circle of friends leader, and if he doesn't know the answer, the questions will be forwarded to the association, which always helps with advice and guidance. But there is much more you need to know, and the circle of friends meetings where you meet even when I'm not here are always necessary, Not that there is any pressure, not something I demand, but I think I can say that it is the duty of the friends to go there so that they do not later say, "Oh, I didn't know that." Because mistakes can occur that people do not know how to express themselves. And then all these complaints arise which burden me and which I have to correct, refute all the mistakes that you have made, not only here, but things that other friends have said in good faith because they have not known how to express themselves. And as our opponents have been waiting for, as they say, "Oh, well, he has said it, we can use that for something." And who does it fall back on? Who does it come back to? To Gröning. He has to fix it, one interrogation after another, one trial after another, one not over yet, the next to follow. I didn't do anything wrong, but since this is actually coming from a few friends, I have to correct it again. I will not read to you what I have written. Then you would just say, "You can't go that far." Then the court will really have something to hang on to, and then they will judge you for insult or something else. Oh no, I say it like it is. I speak and I write only what is true, nothing else. For it must be said, friends, from this arises most of the disturbances, and I ask you now to take these words to heart and really do what is your conviction. Just to mention what some relatives came and said, they are gullible people who have fallen for some hysteria. Then I have to ask the whole circle of friends if it is the case that you, women and men, are hysterical. The gentlemen in the court and the authorities are astonished, and they say, "Yes, but the celebrities are also very strongly represented. We do not understand these people." I do not only hear with these ears, friends. I have certain ears that I hear even better with. But as I said, I have been made responsible when you have used the wrong words. By you, I mean all friends, one here, another there. It was well intended, but badly done. And for all of it, I am the one who's made responsible. It's like in a family when the children have done something wrong. The parents must be responsible. They are responsible for their family. And now, friends, you know, and I understand it well, we are a family, we are. Our gatherings serve well, in that we do not talk nonsense, do not talk about what others are doing. Everyone speaks for themselves, but you get to hear a lot. Get to hear so much here, so much to learn. So you ask no more questions because you have so much to absorb, and eventually you go from one circle of friends meeting to another to take it all in. It is a task for life. We are a family, a big family, and it is the family that we evoke here again, which means leading people back to where we all belong, to the big family, God's family. We are the children, whether we are young or old, big or small, thick or slim, rich or poor, just like the humans are. We all belong to this family, and here the teachings answer your questions why. And it has nothing to do with all the other things in your life, occupation, reputation, what you do. But the divine family is destroyed. The human is confused, has been led on a wrong path. He is full of distrust, he cannot believe anymore, he does not know any advice, and therefore he cannot act. He can do nothing in himself, and nothing more for himself, let alone to stand by his next one with advice and deed. That's what this come together is about. That's what the group meetings should mend. That's what the whole thing's about, my dear friends. Let us not pretend anything. Don't try to fool me in the slightest. Do not try to pretend anything to me. I have studied all my life, that is, pursued it, convinced myself of all this, how people live here, and how and what they strive for. And I know how it is in the individual, as it is in this small life, in the small family, in the larger family, among the relatives, among the acquaintances, and in general. Of course, every friend should know that now, but unfortunately he does not. He is probably thinking about himself. He is so limited, that means he is limited to his family. He places himself in the back, saying, I only look after my family. He does not at all think about himself. When he is the head of the family, it is very important that he thinks about himself, so that he can help his family. He needs to call himself to order, live orderly, gather experiences, be convinced, and he must believe in his conviction and give all of this on to his family. The head of the family is also the mother. But what have they done so far? Who did they fall for? Who have they listened to? Never to the one they belong, never to God. Humans placed themselves in a belief only because they were under the influence of their forefathers, and people who did not want the good but had a bad goal. In other words, they became human listeners. For instance, if someone here has ordered you, someone who said, you are to stay at home, although you knew that where you were at the moment you could receive the most valuable for your whole life, then you ponder all the time, he said I have to stay at home, so I better do that. Then you have listened to humans, you listened to him. It would have been much better and smarter if he had not demanded that, but instead had said, here is the most valuable thing, not only for me, for my whole family. I can absorb it in me my whole life to enlighten all my nearest and dearest about the most valuable that they have certainly already lost. I can teach them how to get it back. Then it is good. But most people are cowards. They listen to people and follow that. They do what someone else among them demands. They don't feel a need for being charged higher. In the case of women, it's the man. But if the woman has always asserted herself in the family, then the man has nothing to say, then she has the leading. One of them sets the tone, and that's how it is in the whole family. The children, all of them, in fear, sorrow, and in need. The human is not free, and here I have to put it before you, the human law. It dictates freedom to us, but who uses it? Who knows about it? Also freedom in the family. Who has followed that? Who has known about it? It's the same as I also say, so that you know why we are here together today. That everybody has a goal they strive for, and that they take themselves seriously. The man, or in this case the woman, cannot say, it is my husband who decides. Everyone must care for and see to his or her own healing, achieve life experiences, and know who they themselves are. Of course, there has to be someone in the family who sets the tone if and when he is obliged, and to what extent. Often there are in families someone that bullies another, someone who don't want the other to feel good. This is certainly not desired, for then hate and envy begins to grow all over and into everyone. That's how it in general is. It must not be that way, dear friends. It's the same with friends and acquaintances. How can you then live a real divine life? How can you then keep peace within? How can you keep the peace when you have been disturbed and deprived of the most holy, as peace is? Here is the root to illness. So here is where they take in disturbances in their body. So there is a man who knows this, and he also absorbs the blessed peace and does everything to not lose it. He keeps the heavenly divine peace with him. He takes in so much power. He convinces himself of so much that no man can fool him. And because he showed so much interest, he can now teach others. If he then says, "Please leave me alone now, I need the rest, I need it, and do not deprive me of this," the word "please" should be enough for his nearest, but his nearest does not hear it, because of the power of habit. Even if he had said "please, please, please," it would not have helped. They all follow their so-called goal, but never what they should follow. I ask you, friends, how would it be possible for you to teach your next? Only when you yourself are convinced and want to convince him. Talk out of conviction. I hear so often the word opinion. Who do not have an opinion? I only have a conviction. Dear friends, you calmed and appeased yourselves by using the word opinion. Everyone can present his opinion. Like, I mean that it is like this. It is my opinion that we have to try this. It's my opinion we have to do so. My opinion is that he needs a beating. I mean that he needs to go to jail. In my opinion, he has to be kept under lock and key all the time. And so on. All these many opinions, dear friends, has become a huge calamity for humanity. With this they have done a great mischief. You will never be able to appraise a person, and because you have no conviction, because you're not convinced, you have to judge him. Who gives you the right to judge your next? You rather have a right and duty to judge yourself when you find out, when you have been convinced about a lot. Then you will say, "I'm ashamed of myself." I recently met people whom you would say are among the great celebrities, who surprisingly said, "Well, I call myself to order every day, and I settle accounts with myself every day." But not only these persons, I have also met very poor people, the poorest of the poor, who do the same. But it's very few of them. I can count them on my 10 fingers. Very few who clean up after themselves, who settle accounts with themselves, who say to themselves to reprimand themselves at night before they go to sleep, thinking, "How could you demean that woman, that man? How could you do such a thing to her or him? How could you do that? That was evil. I have to go back to them and make it well again." Very few humans do that. dare not ask who of you who has already been like that. It is so easy to judge a person. Most people must judge their next because they cannot appraise him, because they do not have the conviction, they do not have the knowledge, they really know nothing. One says one thing, another that, another that. If I take 3 persons from the friends and tell them to inform 2-3 help seekers who have questions, each one of the friends will answer differently. When I talk to them afterward, I say, "Oh my goodness, you have understood the opposite. No, it's not like that." In this way, the work becomes complicated, and there is no reason to come together since most of the people doesn't know why we are gathered here. They haven't really noticed that all that. They weren't that serious about it. They didn't accept it as the holiest thing. They should have known that the good belongs to them. But because man, in response to the one word attempt, as it has become a power of habit for him, he has continued to live like this, and also believing that he is here to experiment, to make attempts. There is so much he can try out, so much good. No, friends, he must know by now that from my side no attempts are made, and also not from my closest friends who already have a firm conviction. Otherwise they would not stand up for you here and make sure you do not try but only give you their conviction. They say over and over again, "I'm convinced about it." If sometimes the word try comes over their lips, one must overhear it, because it still lies inside them due to the old habit. But if you now ask yourselves, by the way, I have to say in advance so that you also know this, the help seekers say, "It's so strange, so funny that one is not allowed to speak of evil here in the circle of friends." And he quotes the help seekers more. He says, "One is not allowed to say anything. You really shouldn't approach Gröning, and I really would like to do so. It would be so good. Then he knows what is wrong with me, so that he can treat my illness." Well, that is how people think. People live in this belief. They think they have to tell me, or else they are not content. Then it's not possible. A bigger stupidity can no one make, but again, it is the power of habit. For then, when he talks about, or not even talk but thinks about the illness in his body, then he must be troubled, then he must be sick. You can talk yourself into a lot of evil. People talk others into much evil, but you had no idea about it, and you believed some of it, and as they talked more and more about it, in the end you believed it. And indeed, it was that your body was weakened by, your body being disturbed by it. It's very simple. But I have to ask you, do we merely want to entertain ourselves with what you have already felt to be evil? And do you now want to treat the evil? Okay, so that you know. You tell me no. That's right. Because now you know that. But the persons who do not yet know this, they also must be told. They also must be asked. Now, dear friends, when people lived in this belief and thought it had to be so and so, that's wrong. That is, illness is not being treated here, and it is not talked about. There are enough doctors with whom you can make your body available. I know many are fed up and say, "I don't have trust." And they do not believe. so it is. But you should not come here just to make an attempt. If I only had tried to help you, I would not have succeeded. With that I can't help anyone. Therefore, dear friends, let us take the word request. I request you to take the good path now, and I request you to once more take the good in by letting go of the evil, not dealing with evil, what you call sickness, and feel as illness, which is painful most of the time, that you put an end to that. You should not deal with it at all, and unite with the one you belong, the one we all belong. We belong to God, not the other way around, not that God belongs to us. We belong to Him. But the union must first be there. You have to have the connection, and you must know how to behave, and you must know that when you want to walk this path, then you have to free yourself from all you have felt as evil forever, and not be afraid of it. Simply do the right for yourself and your body and draw a lesson from it. Then you can convince others how you felt and how the evil disappeared from your body, left your body, was driven out of your body, how you again have order in your body after years with unorder. It all depends on your own will, and God left that for every human being to do. God does not take our free will away from us. Man lives between good and evil. He decides himself. He goes where he feels drawn to. Woe to him who does not yet know what is right and who still allows himself to be lured and led to the evil side. He will not turn away from this side before he has recognized that he, after all, has landed on the evil side. And when someone comes and leads him out of the evil side, for he himself does not know how to get out, and he does not know how he came in there, he will be thankful to him. He must, of course, follow him, because this person tells him the truth and leads him on to the path from which he had strayed. And because he has experienced so much evil on his body, he will see to that he does not give in to the evil once more. Then he wakes up. Then he is aware of himself and his body, so that there is no more mischief for him, and he will do everything so that evil can no longer approach him and certainly not penetrate him. If so, then he honors his body. And for this reason God has allowed evil. And then, dear friends, you can recognize God and see how exact, how fair He is, and what you must decide. I know that many will say, to begin with, when I came here I did not know much about this, but as I heard it, I began to believe. It interested me because it had to do with me and my nearest and dearest, so I did what was necessary. I became convinced, and today I believe in my conviction. Dear friends, it's very dangerous to be gullible. You will not think that you are gullible, but think back on how gullible you used to be. If someone came who were better dressed than you and you were full of respect and said, "That's someone who has studied, that's someone who knows so much more than I do, he has that occupation, he must know," and immediately you believed him without being convinced, then you were really gullible. It shall not be like that any more, dear friends. You have a duty to convince yourself about everything, also about what I always tell you. You shall not believe it, not yet. First you have to convince yourself. But don't come later and say, I can't believe. No, I don't understand it. In my opinion, it's like this. No. He who makes every effort and uses the beautiful time to convince himself of everything, he will not be an opponent, but on the contrary, he will gain experience and will thereby convince many others who are still gullible. It is not my duty to convince myself alone of all that people do and do not do. It is also your duty. You can do so when you yourself are convinced. Or did you think that you can convince someone about something that you are not convinced about? That is not possible. Always begin with yourself. And when you've come so far that you can recognize yourself and see through yourself and really know who you are and are convinced about many other things, this conviction you can pass on. Then you speak out of conviction, then you are not going to condemn anyone anymore. You can no longer get into that danger zone. Do you see how you have to behave, hold on, when you are led on the good path? So you no longer fall back into trying and no longer count to the gullible. I do not want you to adore me, pray to me. Oh no, we all pray to God. Whether you are Protestant, Catholic, Muslim or something else, no, God is always the same. He does not know a denomination, he has nothing to do with it. But it is also not enough to thank God when we say, thank you, we thank you, dear Father, dear God, and what do I know how people pray? No, with that is not a thank paid, no thank. We have to transform our thank into action. We must put these thanks into practice. We must do a lot and be useful to God. That is to be serving God. That's why God has given us a life on earth, and that's why we are gathered here. Here you shall experience the truth. I know that many out there also think that we speak the truth. Yes, if you were not convinced, you would not be here today. Then I had not needed to be here. That's what I earlier spoke about, how big the confusion among humans are. So, to thank God is to do it, to show that you are thankful. And so, where do you begin? When you help one of your next? No, not yet. First you have to have the power to help and teach him. Woe to you if you begin to make use of your own opinion and begin to try out. No, friends, not that. You have to have the power of conviction. The conviction gives you the power. Then the influence is already there, meaning then the power already flows in your body. Your body is a gift from God, and you have to give it attention, don't you? When you do that, then you begin to serve God. Then you begin to thank. Then you will be attentive of yourself and of what you believe, which is the truth. This body has God lent me for a life here on earth, and I have been given a certain amount of time. God has decided how long I am entitled to be here, and God has decided when I again leave earth and when I may take off my clothes, my body. I don't want to go too deep into this. I could have told you much, much more, dear friends, about how wrong also humans in here act when someone must leave the earth, how you understand death, that you weep and mourn, but I will not go into that today. Then the human violates all that God has decided for them. He violates God's decisions, meaning what God has commanded us to. I ask you, who knows when he will leave, when he must leave his body? Who knows? I ask everywhere, and no one knows. But it's good that man does not know, because if he did, he would do more harm than good. He would take revenge on humans. God is so fair. He knows what to offer his children, what he can give you in terms of knowledge, and what not. Why? We have no right to ask also. We have no right, but also no reason to ask God why. We just have to do, first of all, what we owe ourselves, and thus we already carry off the thanks to God. I repeat once more, that we give our body attention, for the body is the divine gift, that we keep our reflection on it and learn to know our body, that we study it and say, here and there is something wrong, a disturbance, it is painful, and so on. Yes, whose fault is that? Who is to blame? Is it Uncle Otto or Auntie Julia or who knows who? Ask yourselves, dear friends, is the blame not yours? Why do you blame others? No, you yourself is to blame, or do you not want that? Do you always want to play the innocent one? But that's a lie, dear friends. That is evil. That's fraud. If you let yourself be tempted, temptation says you should eat something now. You can eat calmly, it doesn't matter. The food beats you again. You led it to yourself, and you actually have a disturbance. When you hear something evil and confirm it and others support it, yes, you're right, that's how it is, yes, you have to. And when you afterward take in those thoughts again, your body are degraded. Then you have disturbances in the body. You've lost the peace and the unrest has entered. That's how it is. Is anyone out there, whatever name, to blame? No, yourself is to blame. You gave your ear to it and took up many evil thoughts that have been drummed into you, and more came flowing in, and it made you speak evil words without being convinced. You delivered judgments, you judged people. By doing it, you degraded yourself. The signs are that if you absorb evil and give evil from you, it's the sign that you are already afflicted by evil, and that evil will then continue to lead you. If you now do it the other way around, dear friends, not take in evil anymore, and first take in the peace and tranquility which you really need, that you carry the heavenly peace within you, are righteous towards every person you meet. Convince yourself about everything. Not take in one evil word. Then you are not in need to give evil words from you either. You do not harm anyone, then you do nothing wrong. You do only right. I ask you, dear friends, wouldn't that be much better? Wouldn't that give you a happy feeling? I only remember very briefly how great the happiness is when you can give one or the other of your next something, but you can only give it when you have developed it and when you own it. When you give a gift to him, notice how he acts. You had the anticipation, as always, and when he receives it, what then? Will he be pleased? What will he do? What will he say? And he will look at it And then he will say, "Oh, that's nice. Thank you, Auntie. Thank you, uncle, sister, brother, or whoever it was that gave the present." Then you have a feeling of happiness. But afterwards, if you find out that the gift is not appreciated, is thrown away as if it no longer exists, that it is in the box room somewhere, then you are sad. Or if it was a piece of clothing and it's neglected, polluted, dirty, then the giver says, "That's a pity, I could have given it to someone else, but I thought it would make him happy. I thought he would appreciate it. I thought he would treat it well, honor it, but he has not." Such a thing happens to people. And so I ask you, friends, how is God? God has given you more gifts than the earthly, much, much more. Your body, which is so wonderful, where you have everything and you can do so much good. Take in the good when you only maintain the connection to God and take His mission, that you stay in the guidance. That's a much, much greater happiness. But woe to he who does not give his body attention. He has made God really sad. Or do you not believe that? And who does not give his body what God has decided, but tries everything himself and offers his body to all kind of trials and has forgotten about it? I say, dear friends, let's not talk around it. It's time that you give your body attention and really let your body get not what but what God always has decided. Therefore these meetings, that is why I've given life to this work. That's why I started this work. I've not been very long on this earth, 52 years. That's not at all long. But as I said, people have succumbed to, are addicted to, the devilish. They rather serve the evil instead of the good, instead of God Himself. They are not even so much more worth that they can take care of themselves, take care of their body, their own body, or take care of their fellow human beings. All of that has been forgotten. Why has it all come to this? Because humans listen to others, because they became subservient to man. Friends, believe me, it is much easier to listen to someone who not just knows something, but who knows what humans no longer know, and to listen to the one who has created everything, has also created us, and that is and stays God Himself. To listen to humans means to take wrong paths. Then you become confused. Then you cannot understand. Then you do not know what is right and wrong. Then you have to walk the path of trying, and it will become evil to you. Then you have received the sign. Stop, turn around, walk back, and undo everything wrong you have done up till now. I have to ask, are these people normal? If so, then I must be unnormal, because I never do it the way you up until now have done. I do it the other way around. So is it me who is doing the right, or is it you? But I notice that you did not succeed, that you had not experienced healing, and that the illness held you tight. It's very simple. What before had become the power of habit for you, to always listen to people, you now listen to one, to God. You are not in the guidance of humans now, but in the guidance of God. All the good that God has decided for us, you take it to heart, and in general, you give and act from the heart. I know that humans worry and try all kind of things to free themselves from evil. Let me give you a comparison. My dress is dirty. There is a stain, let's say a tea stain. If I take soap and water and wash it over and over again, but the stain does not go away, then I will have to cut it out. Then there is a hole in the garment. Why do I try all this? Why do I not go to the expert, as you do, and he gives you a cleaning product? Or you hand it over to the expert and say, remove that stain, and he does. But man first tries everything possible, and such a garment is spoiled. But the body is not a piece of clothing. Why try? I wonder why all people never learn, never draw a lesson from all this trying. It's a miracle that people don't understand it yet. But speaking of miracles, which, as seen here and there, whether it is in humans, animals or plant, you speak of in miracles. You call it a miracle. Or when something has happened of which you no longer know anything, a great miracle, you speak of miracles. I tell you, friends, I'm so wrong, and let me be so. I claim the opposite. I tell you, miracles don't happen. There are no miracles. For me, miracles do not exist. I know no miracle. I only know about one thing. I know about God. It is God who makes all this happen, all what human cannot do. But they go on saying it's a miracle. Yes, that is God's creation, a marvel. Marvel because humans really can't create it and can't even handle it. They can not do anything of that God can do. And therefore has God given us such a wonderful body with which we also can do a lot. Do much good for our next, our nearest and dearest. If you think of technology, how man has received this spiritual inspiration, a thought, and he is willing to put this thought into practice. He didn't try, he just went to work. He used his body and didn't produce just anything, but that which he thought about and wanted. It depends on the will. In this way man has made so much. He is also creative. It is proven. The human is divine. He is not God, but he is divine. And God has given him so much that he can take in.